Welcome everyone. Today we are exploring a milestone initiative at IILM, the Voice Lab. This is more than a classroom. It is a dedicated training ground for our professional identities. I am joined by our lead faculty members, Dr. Shubhangini and Dr. Deepa, to understand how this lab will prepare us for the corporate world. So, ma'am, Shubhangini ma'am, what is the core idea behind the Voice Lab? I mean, in the given current industry trends, why is executive presence so critical for the MBA students today?
All right, so thank you. As we start now, see, the Voice Lab is a dedicated safe space for a student to come and hone his or her communication skills. So beyond classroom interventions and all that happens in a classroom setup, the lab is a facility and a space where a student can come, practice, receive feedback, and also get better in terms of their communication and their confidence. We always say that the lab is a no judgment space. So at many times students may feel that they would like to ask certain questions or take feedback, but they're unable to do so in a class full of many students and in a larger group. So what happens in the lab is that the student gets a dedicated space, no judgment, and looking at a slot where either a one-on-one or a small group simulation can happen, and the student can start decoding how he would like to approach his communication strategy for the coming time. Also, you see, looking at executive presence, now the three basic pillars that executive presence thrives on is gravitas, communication, and appearance. So within the lab, rather than having a straitjacket approach to just diagnosing communication issues, we look at this holistic development in terms of all three pillars of executive presence.
Thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I would also like to ask you something. Ma'am, the name itself carries a lot of weight. So what does the acronym VOICE actually stands for?
Thank you for the question, Pragati. And let me tell you that the term voice is not just a term. In fact, it's a framework for giving a structure to the professional identity of our students, wherein it stands for visual. So when you say visual, you walk into a room, and unknowingly, the people in the room, they already start forming perceptions about us, about you, anyone who walks in, without us even, starting a conversation or even having uttered a word or a syllable. So visual is how you carry yourself, the manner in which you dress up, your attire, your eye contact, your spatial awareness, your micro expressions. And they leave a lasting impression on the minds of people who you might not be interacting with, yet they are part of that room. And that is what we focus on in the Voice Lab. So we is the visual aspect, it's your executive presence. It's about you being you and radiating that uniqueness. O is the oral aspect. Just as the executive presence has its own importance, what we say and how we say, both are equally important. And if you remember, that's what we discuss even in the classrooms, yes, that the choice of words, the tone, the pitch, the expression. So it's about clarity of expression with the right tone, tenor, so that again you leave a lasting impression. It's not just about the words. Words can be forgotten. But again, the manner in which you say those words, that is what is going to create that long-lasting impact on the minds of the people you interact with. Moving ahead, that stands for interpersonal. So again, in the Voice Lab, we take care of the social and the emotional aspect of communication, because it's not just about going and talking. It's about building trust. It's about collaborating. It's about building relationships. So that is what interaction means. And C&E, clubbed together, is communication excellence. So all these things put together is what creates that excellence in a person. All the elements when we put together. So simply put, voice, the purpose is to ensure that all of us, it's not just about students, it's also about me, it's also about ma'am, and till date we keep working on ourselves. So it's about how we present ourselves, how we execute ourselves, and how we express ourselves with clarity, with coherence, and with empathy. That's what voice stands for.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Ma'am, again, I have a question and I'm very curious to know the answer of it. So, ma'am, regarding the physical environment, we have heard this isn't a typical computer lab. So, how should we expect to use that space efficiently?
All right, thank you. So, like you rightly said, we have not opted for a computer lab setup because again the kind of simulations that we're looking at, and rightly like you said, executive presence, and to build on that, the space that we've taken is a place which is fluid in terms of the infrastructure that we're using inside this space called the voice lab. So right from furniture which is movable to settings which can be altered, we try and bring a real-time experience here where students can sort of replicate a boardroom simulation also, or they can have a group discussion while they're sitting together. If not, they can have a symposium, a debate. Now see, looking at some classical artifacts, we also intend to have a wall there which has a mirror on it. So the student can stand there and sort of, rather than just recording his own imagery as he's speaking or delivering something, look in the mirror and do it live. So the agenda here is to have a space which is mobile, and like ma'am rightly said, when we're working on social and emotional aspects of communication also, it goes beyond just words. So the lab is not there so that like ma'am said, you just come and utter a few words. It usually takes a student a lot of talking, a lot of discussion with us, a lot of reflection on their own personalities to understand the main bottleneck. Absolutely. Right? So it may not just be about English, and say if English or if just language is the issue, it can be corrected to an extent, but all the other elements of communication, like we just pointed out, whether it is non-verbal, whether it is emotion, tonality, all of that is equally important when you're trying to have great communication skills. So the lab sort of reflects that space where the reflection, the practice, the simulation, all of it can happen side by side. Apart from that, you can also have some kind of breakout spaces for a student to write down, script out something, put his thoughts together, work on something that's given to him. So that's how we've kept the infrastructure within the lab.
That's quite impressive, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, Deepa ma'am, if we need to work on digital tasks such as our resumes or our LinkedIn profile, how should we manage the technology aspect?
Okay, so I think this is just an extension to what you asked ma'am. Look Pragati, ma'am just said that Voice Lab is a space for human interaction, and it has been a very conscious decision on our part to keep it as such. It's not that we cannot have computers in the lab, we can. Yes. But then since it's a space for human interaction, and for us these are your laptop is or the computers, they are just tools, and a tool which can be carried along with you, I don't think we need it in the lab.
Exactly.
What we are focusing on is the process in which you think. We are looking forward to help you structure those thoughts, your experiences, your achievements in a manner that you can just sit down, bring your own laptop. In fact, we call it BYOD, bring your own laptop. So, you can just, and you can, that's your own personal space where whatever inputs with our discussion you learn, you can easily maneuver them. It's like we were discussing the other day, and I shared, I think I was sharing it with you and Harshita, how the banner has to be, so striking that it narrates a story about your entire journey till date
Yes.
with just that one caption. So what did I help you with? I just made you think. And that is the purpose. And be it digital profiling, be it LinkedIn, at the end you are just narrating your own story in a structured form, only the medium is different. When we are discussing, it's words. When we are doing it digitally, again, words. The format has changed, the channel has changed. So just by bringing your own laptops, that's what you need to do. Our processes to give structure to your thoughts and to help you build your story. And that's what we are doing at the Voice Lab.
Ma'am, as we have moved so far, I have some more questions which will make it even more interacting. So, could you tell us more about the resources and how it guides our practice?
All right. So, see now, having said everything, that we follow this unstructured approach when it comes to students coming, expressing themselves, talking about some inhibitions or talking about aspects where they want to sort of, brush themselves up. What is very important is, and we saw that at the beginning, was to also have some kind of structure in place in terms of tangible outcomes that we see. So for that, we started out by having a unique workbook for the lab itself. Now, because the lab caters to 4 basic aspects of communication, which is speaking and listening and reading and writing, such themes were then further broken down into areas where they fitted. After having some 15 themes, for example, in speaking, we would look at the vocals, we would look at the body language, we would look at confidence, we would look at facial expression. So after we thematically divided these areas, what we did was started to build up resources on this. So the number one resource that was created out for students were open access videos which were readily available. Right, so these were videos, either they are TED Talks or there are videos by inspirational speakers, not more than 2 to 3 minutes. A long video could go on for say 7 minutes. So those resources from open access were identified by us, because obviously the internet has millions of videos, right? So it was our work here to pick out, in finesse, what could be required by a student. Having downloaded those videos, we set out to create small tests. So how do I ensure that a student has gone through the video, maybe a small test or an MCQ right after that. Now to culminate that, after I've done that much, the student would get some idea of the topic that and he would see certain videos. Then comes a small assignment. So maybe you've listened to a lot of videos on confidence and body language. A small assignment which says put up a 1-minute video talking about your likes and dislikes. So the student is then expected to sort of record his own video and upload it there. And after that, we sort of check in and give him certain allocated marks for that particular assignment. So the workbook is used in electric form. So whenever a student comes into the lab and we see him coming recurrently, the student is given access to this particular e-journal or e-workbook, as we call it. The student can download it, save it in his or her own name and share it back with us. So that way we're also able to see the progress. Yes. So as of now, we have about, like I said, 15 themes, and each theme would have at least one section in the workbook, and students are expected to take those forward. So that's how this is our main resource, which can be used by students freely.
Yes, efficient users.
Yes.
So ma'am, I would like to ask you that how do you identify the student who will be using the lab, and what is expected commitment?
Okay, that's again a very relevant question. So thank you for that once again, Pragati. The lab, when it was set up, we did have the faculty helping identify students whom the individual subject experts in the classes thought students would need help in some area of communication, and so they were requested to come to the lab, take guidance, seek guidance and polish their skills. From there, where from the faculty-led effort, now we can proudly say that Voice Lab has come up as an ecosystem wherein it's open to all on the campus. It's not just the Voice Lab for the School of Management.
Yeah.
It's also
All schools.
accessible to engineering students, to law students, to humanities students, and that is what the value is, that now students walk in because they feel they can in some way contribute to the Voice Lab. They can in some way enhance the structure, the fluidity, the experimentation. So Voice Lab now has become a space where students shed their inhibitions, walk in, suggest. In fact, you are part of the Voice Lab. You suggested that, well, ma'am, yes, we look forward to the book reading sessions, and they've been again restarted. There was a student from law who came and said, ma'am, we want to start a series called Voicing Our Concerns. That is what we've again started. So many initiatives, all student-led, all student, not just led, but even suggested by students. That is what the Voice Lab is all about now. So it's a place where you come, you express, you explore, and you grow. And we, as facilitators, just give that air to your wings and help you soar high. Coming to the second part, which is what is expected. Well, commitment is expected. You've been very regular. So many others have been so regular. So that commitment, why a commitment? Because it's only when we are consistent that we can identify, work on certain patterns, break some, and finally reach the goal that we've set for ourselves. And we just suggest 2 hours in a week, dedicated space, dedicated work on yourself on the areas that you want to work on. That's all about it.
Yeah, and it's self-paced, like ma'am mentioned. So because a skill like this cannot be learnt if a student is again pushed,
absolutely.
or structures are put, or he's scared in the name of evaluation. And when we say if you don't turn up, because this comes from willingness, and we have seen students, and you won't believe that sometimes students who are walking in are already very good.
Absolutely.
But there is still that thing within a student that ma'am, I want to still work, still get better. So ma'am, I want to deliver a better pitch than what I do already. So I think commitment is variable when it comes
is important,
to,
and again, as ma'am said, that it has to come from within. And
Yes.
when you learn, through it's voice.
Yes,
And what is encouraging for us as well is that it's through the word of mouth that things are spreading and students have started walking in. So it's there are times when we have our official time from 2 to 4:30. There are moments when students just walk into our cabins early in the morning. Ma'am, would we be having a day today? We say yes, too. Ma'am, can we sit and discuss right now? And there are times when either me or ma'am, we just take the key, go open the lab. We are there with them. So that is what the Voice Lab stands for. It's about voicing your thoughts, your experiences, your achievements, your goals, anything that you somewhere are inhibited or feel inhibition or feel scared. You are open to come, share it at the Voice Lab, and there will be a solution, or there would be some activity around it or about it. And as ma'am, we've been planning, the theatre and communication club is going to come up. We are having a debate with the HR club on 24th. We are going to have expert lectures and expert talks. So it's you think, and it will be done at the lab. That's what the lab stands for.
So Shubhangini ma'am, it has an exciting calendar of activities planned, as you have mentioned before. So what are some of the specific high impact sessions we should be looking forward to?
all right.
Okay.
So if you talk in terms of high impact, we've had, in fact, we start our sessions with the elevator pitch. Now, you spoke about executive presence right in the beginning, and I feel that the elevator pitch is your master plan towards, you know, whether it is interview preparation, whether it is selling out an idea, whether it is having a discussion with somebody on a proposal that you go with. So the initial sessions are usually centered around the pitch, where students construct their elevator pitches, they rehearse their pitches, they speak to us, feedback is received. I've also had students come back and say that, ma'am, because I you know, abstained from using those particular 3 words, I would say, you know, I could not do this. And in the session on the elevator pitch, we focused on what I could do and erase the I couldn't or I was unable to, etc. And I was able to brand myself better. And ma'am, here, this is how it's helped me during the interview. So that's been a very high impact session if I look at the others. Apart from that, you know, we also have sessions, you know, in the voice lab, something called BYOB, which means bring your own book. So this is, you know, breaking away from the cliches of that, you know, so we obviously know we're surrounded by tech all the time, but it's been a great response where students have moved in with books on different genres. Say it could be something like a self-help book, it could be a book on some business strategy, it could be a book on poems, that's also there. So students have felt the comfort of sitting in a peer group who would appreciate reading in a scenario that, or in the world that we live in. So from that we've had JAM sessions, just a minute, a jam, you know, where you build onto stories. So again, this simulation is helping them on to be very attentive to listening to the previous point and, you know, then progressing, you know, processing it in your mind and taking it to the next point. So we've got jam, we've had debate activities, we've had symposiums, you know, we've also had newspaper reading where we've expected students to hold on their, you know, voice, hold on the tone and read. So pretend you're an anchor. How would you read into that? So a 21 days challenge where, you know, your students have gone back and read like that in front of the mirror or recorded their own you know, scripts as they speak, as they, you know, read from a newspaper. So these have been majorly the activities that were done in the previous term, and like ma'am said, as we move on, our calendar would, you know, only expand. There is one thing that we initially thought that we should rigidly stick to one calendar, and this has to be done, but then there are students who will come with different demands sometimes. And so we will not really stick to the calendar, or, you know, that activity may happen in form of a competition, but for other days that we are there, we're there. If a student will come and say, ma'am, no, I want to go back to elevator pitch, or ma'am, you know, I still want to go back and start, you know, please help me prepare, I'm going to talk to somebody in the industry, I'm going to go ahead for an internship, then we'll absolutely take that. So like I said, it's a self-paced, safe space, and we are there for as many as a large group, even starting with 1 at times. A single student will come up and say, please spend this 1 hour with me and help me, and it's as simple as that too. Right.
This makes it self-driven space where
Yes,
you are also
certainly.
heard and
Certainly.
everything is
Yes.
actually according to you if you think in that way.
Yes.
And if you remember, since ma'am mentioned it, you know, the book reading session, I think you were also
Yes,
there.
ma'am.
And I think it came from all of you that, wow, this is what a group discussion looks like. I did not say it. It came from you.
Yes, ma'am.
So that is what self-paced learning is, when you on your own experience. And you realize that though we had the activity done is reading a book. And the book again, like ma'am said, different genres. It was written by a plastic surgeon on how, you know, just by changing the exterior, it's not, unless and until you do not change your thought pattern, things remain the same. And what a beautiful discussion you people had.
Yes, ma'am.
So-
Actually, we had also, we get limited to some genre. We think that, okay, I like this stuff and this is not for me. But from my personal experience only, I actually got a very nice suggestion about absurdism, and I was not aware of it. But it was a very nice suggestion, and now I'm loving it.
So that's Voice Lab.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, as we are going at the last questions, so, ma'am, Deepa, ma'am, I have a question for you. So, how does the lab support student across different specialization? Like we have specializations in finance, HR and marketing.
Okay. We won't stop there. We also have students of engineering
Yes, ma'am.
and law coming into the lab now. So I would like to talk about them as well. So Pragati, you yourself have been a witness to it. That communication has got nothing to do with disciplines. We are talking. Are we discussing any discipline? Does it matter that I'm a core literature person? Does it matter that ma'am is a core HR person? Does it matter that you are, administrative student? No. Communication is vital for everybody. And communication, again, is not about speaking in a particular language. There are times when we don't even need words to communicate. Just look of an eye, or just a shake hand, or just a touch. That's more than enough. That's communication. But now coming back to your question, and yes, non-verbal is something which I am very, very enthusiastic about, and I always tell you people that what you speak, the verbal, should always be supported by the non-verbal. So for me, it's the non-verbal which carries more weight than the words that we speak. But coming back to answering your question and your query, look, a space which is self-paced, a space which is open for all, will always support every discipline. So if you're a finance student, you come to us, we help you read pie charts, we help you read, flow charts, we help you use the language needed in finance discussions and become comfortable with that. You learn how to read data, how to talk about data. If you are a marketing student, it's about pitching. It's about, sharing. It's about holding the attention of your audience, the people, your customers, your clients. If it's about HR, again, interactions. We talked about the EQ, the emotional quotient, the social interaction. It's about listening skills. It's about understanding people. If it's law, it's about bringing forward your point of view in a manner that the other person is able to appreciate and understand it. Engineering, difficult concepts, how you can simplify them and talk to each one of us in a manner that we understand those concepts. And that is what we are doing in the Voice Lab. So Voice Lab is a space, again I'm repeating it, for everybody to come, express their thoughts in a coherent, simplified manner. To be an excellent communicator, you do not need those high, pompous sounding words. The simpler you are, easier it is for others to understand and appreciate you. And that is what we advocate in the Voice Lab. It's about your expression, honoring your expression, understanding who you are. It's about listening, it's about empathy, and it's about being on the same wavelength. Because communication is not transmission. We communicate to be understood and to understand others. And that is the key, structure. We keep it at the basics, and this is the basic.
Also, to add to that, when we are translating our education into career, so most recruiters in the industry say that it's sometimes not very fortunate to see that students can be excellent in how they study academically, but when you're supposed to convert this massive knowledge that you have into ideas or into expressing how much you know, be it at an interview or be it at a forum, that is where these skills come in. So the hard skills are going to be developed. The finance and the marketing and the ops and the HR will be developed. What communication is going to help you in is to stand out at that time when you're able to express what you've learned, applying the science of communication that the sender and the receiver will not couple instantly on the same wavelength. So a student who starts understanding communication like that is very mindful of the receiver before he sends anything before he communicates. So that those are things that students learn on their own. They're very well taught on a book. Yes. I could show you a Shannon Weaver model and make a receiver and a speaker, but that's not the point. Here is where you sit and understand that if I say something, this is how Pragati receives it. What could I have done? How could I have mapped my audience better so the reception could happen in the way that I intend to share? So that's how all disciplines, I think the backbone is expression and communication.
And nowadays when we see it's more about the language and how we talk and how we present ourselves. Because degree is something you're going to get it, but how to make yourself unique out of others is how you express yourself.
And to understand what and who you are.
Yes.
It's that what has to be reflected. If you are just true to yourself, everything else follows.
Yeah, go by all studies, go by Harvard Business School studies, which clarify longitudinal studies, validate the fact that in order to progress in your career also, communication skills are going to complement leadership skills.
Absolutely.
So this is, I think, the right place to start,
So, Dr. Deepa ma'am, what is the long-term vision for the Voice Lab here at IILM?
Okay, the long-term vision for the Voice Lab is that it becomes a pillar for IILM where everybody starts understanding that and starts using communication as practice and not just as a skill. How we go about it? What are our plans? Well, we talked about, ma'am has talked about the various clubs, I've talked about the various activities. We've started a few, we are going to start in more. We intend to have, experts from the industry, from theatre, stalwarts from various segments of communication, because communication is a if I say a bouquet with so many different flowers. So we intend to invite stalwarts from the various specific fields of communication, so that our students get an opportunity and the exposure to widen their horizon, to think beyond the obvious barriers that they've created for yourself. That okay, life is much more than what we try to fit into a box. It's by opening the box that we really grow and evolve, and that is what we are planning to do in the coming semester. So in short, if I say, and I speak on behalf of Professor Shubhangini, Professor Neeta and myself, we look forward to our graduates, the IILM graduates, moving out with confidence, with that clarity in thought, the sharpness in expression, and having the ability to voice their concerns on all platforms without any element of fear. And that is our vision together, and we are going to ensure that it happens.
That's wonderful, ma'am. I hope that this wonderful insights have gone to our audience and they would be encouraged by your words of motivation. And now I would like to thank Professor Shubhangini and Professor Deepa, and we look forward for more interactive sessions at the Voice Lab. I welcome you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Pragati. Thank you so much.